If you were enough to already be a millionaire, you would already be there. The thing is that we have to fix this to be the person that can obtain all that comes with that millionaire status, if that's what you really want, right? The truth is that the first step to really building that $1 million net worth is to stop focusing on the money, because it's letting the money go to your head that could be stopping you from achieving it. Because when you chase something hard enough, when it becomes an obsession, it runs away from you and it takes away from your character and your reality. So when you step outside of yourself and say, what is it about being a millionaire that excites me? Not the money. Put the money aside, because the money in and of itself and living for the money creates a greed that you can never satisfy, that will take you to a place where you will lose yourself. See, because there's really 3 steps to becoming a person that can handle having $1 million net worth plus. That person is a person that is driven by personal growth, by the growth and working on yourself on a daily basis. That is the thing that the person that is a millionaire inside does. And that's how they achieve that status. Second, it's making sure that you learn a skill set that can allow you to take the money that you earn and make it work for you in a systematic way. And third is making sure that that money, like we said before, is not the driving force, and that as you become the person that you need to become a millionaire in the mind, you start to give away before you have. Because everyone I've ever met that gets successful in that manner gives away before they have. And so I got to get you in the right frame of mindset before I can talk about strategy. I promise we're going to talk about strategy here on the back end of this piece. But the mindset is the most important place, because the mindset will allow you to not only make that million, but build on it and keep it and grow, and not just have it disappear. Think about lottery. Think about the winners of those lotteries, and think about how many of them actually keep their winnings and grow in their winnings, and not just have a hit and then it's gone. Most of them do, right? And that's because they don't take the money and change themselves so that they can live like a wealthy person. They take the money and they spend it just like the person that they were before, with the same broke mentality they had before. And that's what we got to fix. If you were enough to already be a millionaire, you would already be there. The thing is that we have to fix this to be the person that can obtain all that comes with that millionaire status, if that's what you really want. So, it's not a secret, it's simply personal growth and having a plan for it. Do you daily work on yourself? Read books that are not fiction books. Read real books. Like, if you're looking for what to read, go to the Rob Review, download the book list. Read books like The Slight Edge, like Relentless, like The One Thing, like The Golfer and the Millionaire, and get this right. And don't just do it once. Don't just read the books once to check them off a list. Read them, then reread them, and start keeping a journal, working on yourself, figuring out how you can apply the pieces in that book to take yourself further. And what you're going to find is that your work goes further now because you're being smart about your money, and you're becoming somebody that thinks in a totally different manner than you did before. Okay, so now for the strategy. The thing you've been waiting for. We're going to talk about 3 ways that you can manipulate an IRA to benefit yourself individually. And an IRA is simply an individual retirement account. Some of you may have one at your employer or a 401k, but all of us are entitled to have one. See, the thing about it is we've been lied to by professionals that really most of them do not understand, one, how to use the stock market to benefit individuals as retail investors, and 2, they think of the IRA as an investment vehicle. And so for those of you that don't understand the IRA, I'm not going to go into all of it, but I am going to talk about, look at an IRA as a way to use the 1031 exchange in real estate in the stock market. See, the government created IRAs for our benefit. They wanted more retail investors to be able to build for themselves a retirement, because Social Security was never meant to provide for every single individual. And so for people that they wanted them to be able and have incentive to be involved in the stock market. And we'll talk about the history of what the stock market really was intended for down the road, because it wasn't intended for huge hedge funds. Retail investors were the reason behind the stock market. And so the more retail investors we can get involved in the stock market, the better. Does that sound cool? So here's the first strategy, right? Because you were intended to be able to use an IRA for this purpose. I promise you, there's nothing nefarious about this. This is the intention of an IRA. What you should do is you should look at an IRA from a standpoint of the companies that I want to invest in. The first method here is buying stock in the companies, when they're going to move around things like times of the month when the stock market moves well, earnings especially for those companies, right? And you figure out the companies you want to trade. Maybe they're companies you want to eventually own. And instead of just buying and holding, you buy the company when it's going to move up and you sell it, and then compound the profit again and again and again. And you target easily 60% a year using the stock method of this IRA formula, this method that we're talking about here, right? That's method number 1. Method number 2 is simply compounding on method number 1. Instead of using stocks, for those that are more well-versed or those that are able to take on more risk, using option strategies. What are options, guys? That's where, if you don't know, you need to go and read a book. There's one called Getting Started in Options. It'll explain everything about how to use options, but they're simply stock that can expire, meaning you don't own stock in a company, you own a contract to buy a stock for a particular share. And what you can do with the options in your IRA is, instead of just making money when it goes up, make money both ways, up and down. And you can do extremely fast compounding with this method too. And I'll talk about how to get started in a minute. And you can compound. I've seen my IRA compound as much as 100+% a year using option strategies, right? Okay, where do we get the money to start the IRA from, Rob? You said you don't have to do anything different. You don't have to earn anymore. That's the beauty of it. You can do this a year from this point, right now that you're watching this video, simply by taking on what I call a 52-week savings challenge and building yourself up. It's on the screen right now. Building yourself up a nice $5,000 to $10,000 sum of money in a savings account. And then you open the IRA, because the IRA can only be opened once and a lump sum dumped into it one time. And then you have limits on how much you can put into it as a yearly contribution, but you can trade and invest it as much as you want to. That's why we want to trade it to compound, right? And so for the next year, you have time to build up the savings, do whatever you have to do to save that money. You don't have to earn any extra. You can just cut back on something. And even if it takes you longer than a year, so be it. This is a long-term strategy to pretty much assure that you're going to build up the net worth that you want to build up, right? Because you can just keep compounding the IRA until it gets to that point. Now, the third method here that we're talking about, y'all know, or at least y'all should know by now, that I don't talk about anything here on the Rob Review that I don't do with my own money. And so this method may seem risky to a lot of people, and it does take a serious understanding of having a risk palette to do this. But what we're talking about is compounding the options quicker. Instead of just using stock options, using what's called an index option, matching market movements, which happen much more frequently during the year than individual stock movements and happen at a larger scale. I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. If you decide to use options in your IRA and trade indexes, such as the triple Qs, which is an index that matches the top 100 NASDAQ stocks, or the NDX, or the SPX, or the OEX. There's many indexes that you can use to do this with. And you can find easily 6 trades a year. And I have been doing this. Guys, that's all I'm trying to do, is build your belief to see what is possible. I don't expect you to start on the highest rung here. I expect you to just open your mind and begin, and maybe start saving the money and have a plan to start your IRA. And then start, or if you already have one, don't just invest in it anymore, start trading that IRA. There's so much that can be done to grow your money. It's staggering how many people could be out here in the world, in America, bettering America, with a net worth of $1 million or more, just by giving themselves 10 to 20 years to compound these kinds of returns. Now, I've given you enough to chew on. My plan is to help more people this year, to help 1,000 people plus get to a point where they can see a better financial future for themselves and a better, what I call personal independence future for themselves, because that's what we're about here on the Rob Review. So until the next video, start working on this. At least start your personal growth plan and begin to see what the future can hold for you guys. Build that belief and believe in a better you. Remember that when it comes to dreams, I just know that you can achieve more than you realize. And that faith is what it takes, because God doesn't care about what is in your bank account. He's not checking your bank account. He's testing your faith. See y'all on the next Rob Review.